This evening, June 13th, it's now 7:30. Annually, we have to reorganize the school committee, and as part of that procedure, the superintendent opens the meeting, calls the meeting to order. So I am hereby calling the meeting to order and request that we all engage in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. The first order of business is that I will call and request from membership a nomination for chairperson. Do I have a motion?
Yes, I'd like to make a motion to nominate Nancy Gallivan as chairperson.
There's been a motion to nominate Nancy Gallivan as chairperson. Do I hear a second?
Second.
There's been a second by Mr. Breen. All those in favor? Unanimous. And now I'll turn the meeting over to Chairman Gallivan.
We need a motion to nominate a vice chair. Mike?
I'd like to make a motion to nominate Susan Curtis as the vice chairperson.
Second.
We have a motion by Mr. Ryan and a second by Dr. Cameron. Any further nominations? Great. All those in favor? Opposed? Abstained? 5-0-0. And
Congratulations.
let's hope for a great year. Okay. The next item is a student report. Do we have, I was hoping we had a student who was going to stand up from that back row. Thanks. Come on up, Cody. Welcome. Cody McCann is the high school representative this evening.
All right, so, since we're near the end of the year, not a ton of stuff is going on in the school. A lot of events have already happened. Obviously, seniors have graduated, things like that. A lot of things are wrapping up, last meetings for certain clubs. We're starting our finals on Friday next week. Student Council actually just had their first meeting today of the new Student Council, the new elected Student Council. So all the upperclassmen, except for obviously the incoming freshmen, came to the meeting today. And otherwise, nothing really is going on other than the 4 representatives and Ms. Mack are going to Las Vegas Friday next week for the National Conference of Student Councils, which is at Sunrise, or I forget the name of the high school, but it's in Las Vegas, and we are very excited, and I think we're going to talk about that a little later.
It sounds like that's going to be one of our very next things. Yep. So thank you. Is there anything else you wanted to add, Cody? Okay, great. Thank you very much.
Very good, thank you.
So the next item is a recognition of the Walpole High School Student Council. Dr. Lynch?
So, as mentioned, the Walpole High School Student Council has received the Massachusetts Association of Student Councils Gold Council of Excellence Award. The High School Student Council has also received the National Association of Student Councils Council of Excellence. Present tonight is Principal Imbush. I don't believe he's made it here yet.
Oh, yes, he is.
Is he
There
here? Oh, there he is. He's a little short.
He's everywhere.
And student Council Advisor Kerry McMenamin. And they will join us this evening to share a little background information and recognize the students who are with us this evening. Principal Imbush.
Thank you very much. I would like to introduce Ms. Kerry McMenamin, who's our Student Council Advisor, as well as a number of the Student Council members. And they'll want to talk to you a little bit about what they've been doing this year and what they're planning for later this year and next year. So, Kerry.
Hello, everyone.
Good evening and welcome.
Good evening. Thank you for having us. 5 years ago, I took over the student council, and I went to a conference at Holy Cross. And the director of student councils, Paul Brannigan, in the state of Massachusetts, he held up a binder very similar to the one I have and talked about excellence awards for student councils. And I remember sitting there looking at that binder and thinking, in 5 years, we will be that. And we are that and beyond. We exceeded these goals by becoming a National Council of Excellence. And next week, I will represent Walpole High School, as well as the state of Massachusetts, along with Annie Gallivan, Mary Hinton, Lucy Lynch, and Cody McCann at the National Student Council Conference at Sunrise Mountain High School in Las Vegas, Nevada, which will be beyond exciting. Every year we have a motto, and our motto this year is expansion always, in all ways. Even though we have achieved a ton of success, there's still a lot of ways that we can grow as a council and more opportunities to increase school culture and interact with the community. This is the portfolio that we submit to the state and the national associations. So I will pass that around, and Assistant Secretary Annie Galvin will speak about it.
So the binder is something that we put together every year to send to the Massachusetts and the National Association of Student Councils. So it's a summary of everything that we do from the entire year, and it includes descriptions of our events and copies of our minutes and like everything else about what we do. So on the first page of the binder is the checklist for everything that's in the binder, and highlighted at the bottom is our score, which is out of 50, and we got a 47, so since anything over 46 qualifies you to be a Gold Council of Excellence. And now next year's junior class president, Lucy Lynch, is going to talk about highlights from this year.
So one of our biggest events from this year was hosting the fall CMASC conference, and CMASC stands for the Southeastern Massachusetts Association of Student Councils. And each year, Walpole attends 2 of these regional conferences, one in the fall, one in the spring, and then the state conference. So this conference was kind of a big deal because we hosted, there's about 500 kids at our school, and it took a lot of preparation. There was multiple workshops and people many speakers, including Matt Brown from Norwood, who spoke about overcoming his injury, and it was ultimately a successful turnout. We gave out evaluations to each of the towns, and we got very high marks from a lot of people, and many of the students that came said it was the best of these regional conferences they'd ever attended, so that was a big aspect of one of the events that we held this year. And now I'm going to turn this over to Assistant Publicity Coordinator Mary Hinton.
Additionally, each year we support many charities. This year we did a lot with breast cancer. This fall we held a pink dance and attended the breast cancer walk in Boston. Our pink dance had a pretty good turnout, and we raised a lot of money through the dance and the walk. After the Boston bombings, we handed out yellow and blue Boston Strong ribbons, and we were recognized through the National Student Council Twitter. We do a lot of other like community support, like guest events throughout each year, and now I'm going to turn it over to Cody McCann as he's the junior class vice president.
So, as they all said, we had a pretty great year this year, but we're always looking for the future. As said by our motto, expansion always, in all ways. As we go, we have the opportunity to go to the national conference and meet kids from different schools, of different student councils across the country. We're going to try to see if we can find new and different ways to up participation in our school, get more school spirit, things like involving the community more, and finding new events that we can do that have been proven successful in other high schools across the country. And I think that as we are looking to the future, this conference we are going to will help us greatly, and just small ideas that we can tweak that could fit our school, and all of that will ultimately expand our student council, and we are just trying to be as best as we can be. So every day we just try to be better, and that's how we're looking towards the future. Thank you for having us here tonight, and that is all.
Great. Carrie, do you have anything else you want to add?
I'd just like to say that none of this would be possible without the support of the school committee and the Walpole High administration that has allowed us to grow and expand and try new things. I remember going into Steve's office and saying, so I want to have about 600 kids on a half day here, and it kind of being like, what? But, you know, the kids and myself are 110% invested in Walpole High School and making it a premier high school in the state of Massachusetts in terms of culture and community involvement. And I think just tonight having these representatives here and going to the national conference next week, you know, it's a excellent taste of what is to come. Thank you.
Great, congratulations.
Very much so. Good work.
I would just like to thank Ms. McMiniman because, you know, I think that it takes a special kind of teacher to spend the kind of time that she does with the students, and she wants to grow this group to make it include everybody at Walpole High School. And I think that is just the best kind of goal because it helps when you think about the things that go wrong in schools. School culture has so much to do with it. And if you work hard, and you do, to include everybody, and I love the goal to be even more inclusive, I think that that will help us as far as being a school that kids feel comfortable and safe and supported in. And I think you deserve a lot of credit for it, Carrie, so thank you. One other thing I would add is all of us parents at first said Las Vegas. It wasn't our first choice. But they made some really good points, and they explained, and they sort of showed us that this is a tremendous leadership experience. And just the way you four spoke tonight shows that you want to be leaders, you want to be positive, and I think you're going to make the most of it. But still, we still shake our head and say, Las Vegas? Have a great time and represent Walpole well. Okay, the next item is a recognition of a student from Old Post Road School who won a statewide award.
And we have Principal Fortin with us this evening, and we are here to recognize Tess Curtis for a fourth grader who received the award and citation for winning in an anti-tobacco calendar contest. Steve Fortin is principal, as I mentioned, will provide additional information for the community. Or Erica? Erica,
Good.
that's fine too. And the award is sponsored by the Massachusetts Medical Society. So, Erica?
Okay.
Welcome.
Thank you for having us. This is Tessa Curtis. She is the winner of the anti-tobacco poster contest. Each year we have the entire school involved in creating a poster against tobacco through the Massachusetts Medical Society. And grades 3 and 4, which Tessa had to represent how tobacco affects other people. And she demonstrates that really well in her artwork because it also shows how it affects animals and whatnot. And Tessa can take the stage.
Hi, my name is Tessa. I am one of the 12 winners of the anti-tobacco poster contest. When I walk by people that are smoking, I know when to hold my breath, but these animals don't know when to hold their breath. My poster explains that smoking can affect nature. I want to thank Mrs. Galvin and Dr. Lynch for sharing in my special day.
Oh, wow.
Can you tell them now what will happen with this poster?
So with this poster, some lady is smoking and it's affecting all the other animals that are around her.
Okay. And what are they going to do with this now?
Well,
Right, it will be made into a calendar. There were 12 winners statewide.
Right, out of about 12,000 entries.
Right.
She was one of 12 winners.
Right.
And it will go in the calendar, which will teach the students next year on why to stay away from tobacco. So Tessa is part of our learning experience now.
And all of these calendars are given out to schools in the Commonwealth, and also, I think, to some municipalities, too, so they probably come to the town hall, too.
And
We'll
as
make
well
sure.
as medical facilities, doctors and whatnot.
We'll make sure you get an autographed one.
Oh, that would be
Wow,
perfect.
nice.
Can you tell them, too, about your award from the state? Do you have that with you?
I got this from the State House, and it's signed by all the representatives.
And we were able to go to lunch, right? And what else did you get?
Well, I got a $50 Barnes Nobles gift card.
Have you spent that yet?
No,
Not yet. Summer reading. Summer reading is coming up.
With
That's
some
it.
health in it.
That's it.
Congratulations.
Great job, Tess. That's another example of being a leader and, you know, using what you know to teach other people. So congratulations. And the last recognition this evening is the Boyden School Playground Committee, a group of people that have been working for a good while to improve the playground facilities at the Boyden School. Dr. Lynch?
Principal Dearborn, as well as some involved parents who are with us this evening, will share with the community and with the committee some of the activity relative to the new Boyden School playground and potentially a status report. So, Principal Dearborn?
Good evening, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here. It's rather exciting, too, to be talking about the playground that's kind of coming up, and we can see the finish line. You know, what's happened over the last few years has been remarkable to the amount of money that's been raised to put this playground to the forefront and be able to, you know, start talking about really putting into the Boyden School. It's a playground, and when you think about it, many friendships are actually made at playgrounds, whether it be during the school day or on a weekend when families walk down and meet one another. So hopefully this is something that's going to enhance the Boyden community, but ultimately really enhance the town of Walpole. And hopefully people, you know, all across the town will be driving over to South Walpole to use the facility. It takes, as the saying says, it takes a village. It takes a lot of people to raise this amount of funds. A huge community effort, but the four women that are here tonight, I'm going to invite up Lori Wilson, Andrea Zucker, Angela Bilski, and Jody Verderber, have been the backbone of this operation. They have put countless number of hours to raise close to $100,000. Really, the four of them, and Elliot Wazinski, who cannot be here tonight, have really just gone above and beyond. Again, not only for the students of Boyden, because they want to see them have a new playground, but really for the town, and be able to put hours and hours into it to be able to make this really come to fruition. Our goal, we have some tentative plans, is to take down the current playground at the end of this month, with a mid-August with the new playground going in. So we're quite excited for that. I will leave with the committee some things tonight, just so you can take a look at the new plans and some of the information. But there's also another family here that we do have to acknowledge for what they did for the Boyden playground and ultimately for the town of Walpole. The O'Farrell family is here tonight, and they donated $30,000 to the playground in memory of Colleen O'Farrell, who was Michael and Jackie's mother and Mr. O'Farrell's wife, who passed away a few years ago. So they have gone above and beyond to do that for everyone here in Walpole, for the Boyden community. You know, being new here, I was very, very touched, and you know, I wish I knew Colleen. Everyone has talked about what a great, great person she is, and you know, her family is a great. They're holding on a great tradition to honor what she would believe in, to have a great playground. So I do want to bring the whole family up right now to be acknowledged. So ultimately, the people behind me are the people who are going to make this happen for the town of Walpole and for the Boyden community. So I think it's a huge thank you to all of them and all of their efforts going forward. We're not there yet. There's still a lot of work to do, but we can see the light, and we're ready to move forward with it. So again, congratulations. Committee, I will leave these with you. If the committee has any questions for any of us, or
Perhaps you could describe to the folks the process of building. It's, as they say, it takes a village. It's quite an undertaking, and we have a lot of volunteers. We have the DPW involved, I believe.
Yes.
So maybe you could kind of describe build day, what that would look like.
Right. Yeah. It's been we've been kind of working out the details with all of that, and one of the things that we've got to the point where we raised, as I said, close to $100,000. It's close to another $20,000 to actually have them install it. So what we have Dave Pachilla, who is a parent at Boyden, and Chris Tiska, who are going to help excavate the land and take the Boyden playground down. So again, volunteering their efforts and donating their time to assist us, and they're going to get it ready. And then on August 17th, we're doing a community build, which is a little nervous because when I put IKEA things together, it takes me forever. So now we're talking about a playground. So we'll see how this works. But the company is going to send out representatives to kind of guide us in this. We're looking. The DPW is now involved to give us some assistance on that day, and all of us will be there. With obviously many, many more people from Boyden to kind of come together on a great community day and put a great playground together for the students. And it's really, as you can see, it's a new upcoming. It has one of those sponge grounds, so if a student was to fall, there's the less injury. The equipment is state-of-the-art equipment. It's going to be handicap accessible for anyone who accesses the playground. So it's really, the committee behind me has gone above and beyond to make sure that everybody's accessible to the playground and that it's eye-catching and everybody's going to want to be on it. So,
Excellent.
Alan.
I want to thank you for doing all this hard work and leading this. It's a testament to why Walpole's such a great community. It's going to be a great legacy for your mom, having the playground there for generations of people to use, and it's going to be a great testament to our town that we have people like you who took the lead in making something like this happen. It's going to be great for kids today. It's going to be great for future generations of kids. So thank you very much for doing that for us.
I'd also like to say, I think Walpole is a great community to raise children, and I think it's because of people like you who just, when there's a need, step up, and it'll make your community feel tighter. And what a nice, generous thing from the O'Farrell family. I think that it's just a kindness that it exceeds anything people could ever expect. And I don't know about you kids, but it sounds like Mr. Dearborn might need a little bit of help when it comes right down to knowing, how to read directions and put this piece together with that piece. So you guys should be there and make sure if he needs a little help that he gets it, okay?
You have to keep me off the slide, too. So.
But thank you very, very, very much.
Thank you.
Would any of the parents like to say a few words?
It's been a long process. Okay.
Yeah.
None of us like to speak in public, so it's been a long process. It's been 2 years, and it's been the four of us working hard, meeting once a week, and it's such a relief to have this done and be able to give this to our kids, while they're still at I'm a middle schooler, and
right.
So it's great. So we're very excited, and we're very thrilled to give this to the town and our kids to have a safe playground, safe as a playground can be. So thank you very much.
No, thank you. And thank you for all the time, because you're exactly right. It's nothing that takes a handful of meetings. It takes a regular commitment for a long amount of time. And,
A
lot of begging. Well, you were successful, and that's great. And The next item on our agenda is talking about like potential naming rights. There's a whole process to that, and I was just talking to the superintendent and Mr. Dearborn about the fact that we just want to make sure we do everything right. So we're going to table that specifically for tonight, just so that we know exactly what the process needs to be. But we're so grateful, and it's a celebration for the entire community.
And please let us know what we need to do in that process, so that as you said, that we make sure we dot all our I's and cross all our T's.
Right.
Exactly.
And anything that we need to do before school gets out, I know it's only a few days or over the summer to make this.
Now, we'll look into it right away to
Great.
figure out the rules.
Absolutely.
Thank you
Thank
very
you,
much.
guys.
Brendan.
Okay, under new business, we do need to table that first item. So the next item is out-of-state field trip requests.
As is policy, before the school committee, I bring forward out-of-state field trips, and this evening, we have 2 trips to consider. The first is the Walpole High School boys varsity soccer team to Lincoln, Rhode Island, on August 25th, 2013. And this evening, we have Principal Imwish to provide some details for the committee.
This is a field trip that the soccer team, the varsity boys soccer team, take for the last couple of years. They've gone to Rhode Island. It's a great opportunity for them to get a kind of a head start on their season, and I would encourage you to allow them to participate. I think it's a great experience for them.
Excellent. So I would recommend the field trip on August 25th for approval.
Motion to approve the August 25th soccer field trip.
We have a motion by Mr. Breen and a second by Mrs. Curtis. Any discussion?
I'm just going to add, I did crack up when I read in hostile territory. I wanted to point that out. So, no further discussion.
I was wondering if lunch at Mr. Imbush's house was included, because...
Absolutely not.
Just to be clear.
Are you a Lincoln resident? Doesn't it? No? Oh.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstained? 600. Thank you.
Thank you.
So the next trip is a little further away from Walpole. And the next trip for consideration is for Walpole High School grades 9 through 12 to Normandy and Paris, France from April 19th to April 26th. There is a tentative itinerary, and we have the department head of the foreign language department, Lisa Osborne, is here with us this evening. Lisa?
Good evening, Lisa.
This is a trip that we took 3 years ago. It's almost a carbon copy of the trip that we did because it was so successful. So it's a 1-week trip. It's during April vacation. We leave Saturday evening, the 19th. Something that's changed in the itinerary since the original one I gave you is we do have a connecting flight. We're flying Aer Lingus, and it's a connecting flight in Dublin, to and from. We arrive in Paris, and we have a guide that meets us and takes us on a coach bus out to Normandy. We stop for a lunch at a farm restaurant. It's actually a gourmet restaurant. It's very French country and very delicious, especially after a long flight and no sleep. And we head off to Normandy. We visit the American Cemetery. We spend the night in Normandy. On the way back, we head back toward Paris. We spend time in Giverny to visit Monet's Gardens. And then off to Paris, and the rest of the trip is in Paris, where we see all the biggies. Eiffel Tower, Notre Dame, Arc de Triomphe, Napoleon's tomb. We visit the Latin Quarter. We visit the Paris catacombs. And we go to Versailles on a day trip, and we end the trip with a dinner boat ride on the Bateau Parisien, which is a nice evening where we see all the sights lit up, and we have entertainment on the boat, and then we come back to Walpole in time for school Monday.
So this is a trip fully funded by parents.
Yes.
Hopefully with help from students.
Yes, yeah, yes.
If they have a little skin in the game.
Some summer jobs need to get underway.
Approximate ratio is 8-to-1 chaperones to students, and the approximate cost is a little under $3,900. And I'm sure Lisa, Mrs. Osborne would entertain any questions you may have.
Are there questions? Alan?
I was going to make a motion to approve the trip.
Sure.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion by Dr. Cameron, a second by Mr. Breen. Are there further questions or discussions? I think it's generous of you to give your time, and I think, that it is something that would be appreciated by all the students. Are you going to do any fundraising if there might be somebody who really, the price is only going to work if you do maybe some group fundraising?
Some students asked if that were possible, and the students seem to be generating interest to start some kind of fundraiser. I was very impressed at our student meeting. It came from them, and maybe some
Great.
parents might be involved in helping as well. So, yes.
Great.
Yes.
And all the rules of Walpole High School apply during a field trip like
Absolutely.
this, correct?
Absolutely.
Good.
Yes.
Okay.
We have a parent meeting usually a few weeks before, maybe a month before we leave, and we go over that very, very clearly.
Great.
The last trip was fabulous. I always say Walpole children are a privilege to teach, and it's never more apparent when we go on a field trip and we take them out. They were wonderfully cooperative, positive, no complaining, absolutely no problems at all. They're wonderful kids, so
That's great.
They're a pleasure to bring out of the country.
And I think it's important just to establish the ground rules, too,
Yes.
with any students. So it sounds like you've got that well covered.
Yes, absolutely.
Thank you.
I have two colleagues here that thought they were on the agenda for another trip, but I don't know what the procedure is. I told them I'd give them a
Okay.
shout out.
All right.
Before we move on,
Yes.
we will need a vote on the motion in
Right.
a second. And for the record, Principal Imbush and I do support the trip and recommend it to the committee.
Okay, good. So are there any other comments, discussions, questions?
I just wish they had this when I was in high school.
Okay, we have a motion, a second. All those in favor, opposed, abstained, 600. Thank you again. Okay. Mr. Imbush.
Okay, so there was one other trip that didn't make the agenda, but the teachers are here to present it, and the paperwork is all here. I'm going to pass it around if that's okay that I put that in quickly. This is a trip in the summer of 2014 that they would like to take to London. And I have here Emily Laughlin and Lisa Linden to tell you a little bit about the trip. I wholeheartedly support this trip as well.
Come on up, ladies. The one thing I'll say before I even take a look at it is, if there are any questions, we would vote it at the next meeting. But, we appreciate the fact that you're here, but if anything comes up, just so that you don't get your feelings hurt, it would be that, we would address whatever has to come up. But go right ahead and explain to us what this is.
Okay. So we would like to take some students to England, specifically for most of the time London. And this trip is meant to be a combination of looking at English theater and English history, and a little bit of literature on the side. So we are hoping that we will have a day-long tour of London, of the House of Parliament and Buckingham Palace, Trafalgar Square, Tower of London, and most importantly to us, the Globe Theatre, the rebuilt Globe Theatre in London. And we are hoping to see some theatrical performances while we're there, specifically Shakespeare and perhaps a more modern English play. We also are hoping to go to Bath, where Jane Austen once lived. And there's a lot of interesting historical sites around Bath as well, such as Stonehenge and the Roman baths in Bath. And we are also planning to go to Canterbury Cathedral. Not the home of the Canterbury Tales, but the inspiration of the Canterbury Tales, perhaps. And also to see Hampton Court, which was the Tudor Palace in London. And so those are some of the major things that we would like to do.
I see that you have, the date of the trip is early summer of 2014, so a year from now, plus a little bit. How long will the trip be?
It is, right now, it's looking like it's going to be a 7-day trip.
Okay.
Have you had any contact with students to gauge interest yet?
We have not. We've actually sort of been brainstorming ourselves and talking with the travel company about what's possible and what we think would be feasible for the students. And that's really our next step, is to go to the students and see who is interested.
Okay. Principal Imbush, could you speak to this? And the department head, does that person support? Do you, et
Ms.
cetera?
Culleton is in
Right.
support of it too. I've spoken with her about it. I advised the teachers here not to do any outreach yet until they got your approval, based on what you say tonight or at the next meeting, and then they would reach out and see if there was an interest from the students. So I think it would be a wonderful trip myself, and I would support it.
What type of time frame organizationally do you need? Like, for example, if it were tabled tonight, what does that do to your schedule?
When would the next meeting be? Is there another one this?
Next meeting would be-
Potentially 2 weeks from now. We're going to discuss summer calendar tonight, but potentially 2 weeks from now. Worst case,
even if it
middle
were
of
later in the summer, I think it would still be possible for them to get through the organizational piece. Obviously, the sooner they know, the better. But they, would you agree? You have enough time?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think that would be fine.
I would think that, I would recommend we table for the next meeting so that we can gather a little bit more information. Like, for example, the company you may use, I think we need to look at.
That was going to be my question.
Yeah.
You do.
Yeah, we're using Target Travel, which is the same company that Lisa Osborne uses, and I think other teachers in the school have used it. Gordon Strick has used it for a trip to China. Dinah Hampton used it for many years for trips to Italy and France. So it's the same company, and we are in touch with the same travel agent in that company that those other people have used.
Is that the comment that you wanted to make, Lisa? Okay.
Target Travel, we have an excellent relationship with them. We've had much success.
To me, I would like to just feel comfortable that there's enough structure to it. So usually we just have a little bit more information than what we have here.
We have an itinerary right here from
Okay.
Target Travel, similar to what Lisa may have passed out. We only made copies of, because I think we were on the agenda, but there was some confusion. But we had copies of the form, but I mean, we can get the copy of the itinerary to you tonight, and then you can look it over.
What's the will of the committee?
I think even with the open meeting law, I don't think we could vote it in tonight. I think we'd have to table-
Procedurally, I
yeah.
think it might be, so long as we're not messing you up, I think procedurally it would be a little bit better to just get the information, make sure it's on an agenda, and then vote it at the next meeting, okay?
So we apologize for the inconvenience that this may cause, but we'll have it on the agenda for the next meeting.
And we really appreciate the fact that you're willing to do it, because kids should not underestimate the fact that it's taking your time away from your own personal time. So we do appreciate it. We just want to do these things right.
Absolutely, yep.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Okay, the next item of new business is a wonderful award won by the Food Service Department. Dr. Lynch?
Okay, we have Maria Hall with us this evening and Mr. Frisha, and we're here to share with the community a recent award bestowed upon our school nutrition program known as the USDA's Healthier U.S. School Challenge, and it's a national award. Walpole is the only school district in New England where all of our schools were awarded the Bronze Award. In addition to that, it's very rare that a high school is included in an award listing, and we're very pleased that the high school is included in this. So, Maria, if you could provide a little bit more detail and perhaps share with the committee the nice celebration that we had this past week.
Thanks for having me. Well, the goal
We
of
always like having you, so welcome.
And I like being here. The goal of the Healthy Year School Challenge is basically to improve the health of our nation's children by promoting healthier school environments. And there are 3 key areas that it focused on. One is providing better foods and healthier foods, improving physical fitness opportunities, as well as nutrition education in the curriculum and in the classroom and opportunities for that. And what I wanted to share with you, and I will, about the event, but what's really neat about, again, and I've said this a million times about collaboration, and some people are here that definitely want to talk about how we got to the point of getting the application completed, and because I brought the book. It's about that thick of the information that's required to apply. But when we look at, when we were looking first when I started to look at, okay, what does it mean to do Healthy Years Challenge? We went to leadership meeting, we all talked about it, and then I moved forward. And one of the things was first our wellness policy. And our wellness committee, headed by Jean Kenny, and the whole committee, we looked at the wellness policy because that's one of the criteria that the wellness policy meets certain guidelines. And we presented to the school committee changes in that wellness policy that we needed to first move forward with our change to be able to apply, not only to apply, but to make our environment more healthy. And you guys approved that. And one of the things was the fact that there was some wording that needed a change based on the new federal regulations. So it wasn't that our policy wasn't great to begin with. It was that the new regulations, we needed some verbiage in there that strengthened that area. And the regulations kept changing. You know, if we can't have this, you can't have that. So we actually just followed it by adding, and this was a lot of work with the Wellness Committee back and forth, but we came up with just, let's put the law in there. We're going to follow the law. And we thank you for allowing that change to happen in the wellness policy. After doing that, a lot of the information that needed to be collected, it seemed really a lot to do because you had to look at what's going on, not just in curriculum, but in phys ed classes, but also outside of those roles and what are teachers doing. So I worked with Ann Arpin, and Ann Arpin helped me set up a Survey Monkey, and we broadcast a Survey Monkey to everyone, all staff. And so many people replied. It was amazing. Our educational staff, they all replied. And Jean painstakingly sat with me, and we went through each of the responses and see where it fit into the actual, meeting of the guidelines and criteria for the award. So, again, in terms of collaboration, it's always there. And then after that, one of the other things, looking at, again, outside of the gym classes, or our PE classes, which already actually exceeded the recommendations, but what other things are we doing? And those are some of those clubs. And at the award ceremony, if you had the opportunity to be there, the Hot Hoppers from Old Post Road did a jump rope. They're a jump rope club, and they're award-winning jump rope club from the Old Post Road. And almost every school had does currently have some type of physical fitness club that helps promote. And that was great, so we added those things in. And the PE teacher at Elm Street, and again, I'm just giving a quick view because I can't speak to everything, but Maureen Carty, she started a fitness at Nutrition Month, which was April. And what we did is we collaborated in the kitchen by promoting certain foods. We looked at 4 food groups, and we promoted those groups during the week, and they had to record their snack consumption as being healthy snacks, as well as they had to do 60 minutes of exercise and each day, or at least 6 days of the week. So we actually tallied that and collected that, and then that whole idea ended up going the next year to Fisher. And now Fisher's doing that same thing, the Nutrition Fitness Month. So again, through collaboration and just an example of additional things happening where curriculum and PE are being combined in terms of nutrition education. One of the other things was, again, working with Jean Kenny with the curriculum. I have the opportunity to have Framingham State interns, and one of the newer opportunities, and they're usually food service interns, but they're also mostly going for to be a registered dietitian. But this year I was asked to take interns that needed to hit the nutrition education. So we brought interns this year in addition to our food service interns that also did curriculum training and education, and Jean helped coordinate that with both from elementary to middle school to high school. So each one of the grades were a training thing was, an educational class was done, nutrition education. The nutrition education also spilled over to staff because that was part of their requirement, and we have that opportunity for next year as well. And then, Jean, Nancy and I, we were on the same strategic planning table anyway, the same group. And one of the things, it was actually Robin Chappelle, who most of us were thinking these things, but Robin Chappelle during the thing said something about, making sure we look at the wellness, the overall well-being in part of that. And everyone's, yes. And I think that's what we talked about in strategic planning aligns so well with the Healthier U.S. School Challenge in terms of the things we are looking at in that Healthier U.S. Challenge basically align with what we were talking about in terms of overall well-being as it relates to those three categories anyway. So, and then the school garden at Elm Street, I don't know if any of you got to enjoy that, but they, again, I know there were many people involved in that. Kathy Galvin's here, and she, along with a whole group of people, again, including Robin being another person, a leader in that, got the project going, and we were able to have a lettuce party. So not only did they help teach, it was amazing because they took the children, the seniors, the high school kids from Aggie, brought them all together. The garden was fruitful, and then all the lettuce was collected, and our staff was able to wash it up, and we had a lettuce party, and it's amazing pictures of that lettuce party, and the kids were enjoying the lettuce they grew. And Robin told me that a child actually said they hadn't had lettuce before. Now, I think maybe they hadn't had leaf lettuce, maybe, because we think probably they had, a iceberg lettuce, but the leafy lettuce is what they had, and it was amazing, and it was a lot of fun to watch them devour their salads. And there's a picture they have, and it looks like a little girl's finishing an ice cream bowl. That's how it looked when she's finishing her salad. She had a big smile on her face. There's committees or programs like Let's Move Walpole. All these things are happening here in Walpole that are really, again, aligning themselves with a healthier environment for the schools as well as our community. And the final thing I want to mention, other than the food piece, was we've been trying to do the chef in the classroom more this year. And Fisher had International Week last week and this week actually, and we had Prairie Breakfast, and they had Japanese Day in Brazil and Germany, and they reached out to me to say, can you do things with the students? And I talked with the chef, and he came up with some great things. And these are, I was going to pass these. You don't need to look now, but these are the letters that came from the Prairie Breakfast. And this thing says, "You're a 5-star cook," and and stuff like the foods that were provided the words are amazing. Like they're talking fluffy and scrumptious and delectable and just really cute.
Envious
and again, one of the things with the Japanese, instead of they wanted us to learn about sushi. The chef actually took watermelon for salmon, but it was watermelon. And we had allergies, so we had to come up with a way to have it so that they could still see what sushi is made of. So we use a puffed rice instead of a rice with soy, because usually soy sauce is part of that. So some of those things that actually added a lot of fun, and I can see us doing more with that as we move forward the next few years. So anyway, in terms of the food, just to give you an idea, not only did we have to meet the competitive food standards, which I've said to you guys, I know more times than not, but there's a restriction in calories, no more than 200 calories, no more than 35% of the calories from fat, no more than 35% of the calories from sugar, a limit on sodium in each a la carte item, and our a la carte or our competitive foods do meet the guidelines, and we're actually doing that. So those pieces and a la carte foods are the things we sell outside of our lunch program. So our vending machines only sell water. That's it. We also had to limit the juice size to no more than 4 ounces, which we were doing. We had to offer a different type of fruit every week, but we do that every day. We offer at least 4 different types of fruit a day. We had to offer dark green and orange vegetables 3 or more times a week. We had to have at least half of our grains whole grain, which we do. Almost 100% of our grains are whole grain. We also had to, our milk had to be low fat or non-fat, which again we do provide. That's the only type of milk we have. And those are some of the things in terms of the nutrition piece that we had to make the changes. And again, going back to the whole community, we met. It was great because last year we implemented these changes, and I think I mentioned this to you. So we changed what was required to change this year last year, so it wasn't a surprise. We were able to, leadership drilled it out to their schools, so the principals drilled out information, and that's why we were getting the calls, we're doing Prairie Breakfast, or we're doing, Brazil Day. They reached out to us to how can we meet that need. We even did Q and U get married. The letter Q and U gets married, and there's a wedding cake. So how do we make a cake that met the requirements? And those are the things that we had an opportunity to do this year. And again, thank you for a great opportunity working here in Walpole, because I really do love it.
Thank you, Maria.
If you wanted to make this over.
I just think it's just so impressive. We talked about for so long just rebuilding this program and making it sustainable and making it a program that at least met the requirements of what we want for the kids in Walpole. And clearly from what Maria says, and all the people and committees and individuals who are involved with the rebuilding and the amazing things that go so far beyond that, it's just impressive. I sit back and think about it, and it's just in a matter of a year and a half at most, that we went from what we had to where we are. It's exciting to think about where we're going. So my compliments to Maria and to everybody involved who helped us to get where we are. It's just amazing.
Congratulations. Yeah.
I know.
You want to come up?
I would love Christopher, because Chris works in the office with me, and honestly, without her, I've mentioned her before, but here's her face.
The real thing.
Without Chris, again, there's no way I can do the things I can do without the collaboration of everyone. But Chris is a major part in the nutrition office and all that we do. I
Thank you.
couldn't do without you.
And I just want to thank everybody for hiring Maria.
Well, it's our pleasure.
Good for you. It's great that you can even try to keep up with that level of energy. It's impressive, Chris. But the fact that you appreciate it is awesome, too. Alan?
I can remember when I first came on the committee, that was one of the things we were talking about, is changes to the food service department from many angles, and it's remarkable to see where we are, and I want to thank you for your leadership. You had the vision of where you wanted us to go. You had the ability to look at where we were and make honest assessment of the food and the structure of the program, and then you were able to lead us through the process, although difficult at times. You took us through the process to get us where we are today, and without your leadership, we wouldn't be here for that. So thank you very much for all of your hard work in getting us where we are.
I think we have to also thank all the workers at all the schools who had to adjust to major change this past year. They did it with a smile on their face for the most part, and they were with us all the way. They continue to work hard every day. We also need to thank the faculty and the principals for supporting the program, because in Walpole we educate the whole child, and a healthy child usually achieves greater heights in school, and usually their attendance improves. So, to that end, we appreciate it, and anything that can be done in the financial arena to help the food service department, it's less money that has to be diverted from the classroom. And for that, we thank you, too. In fact, we'd like to reverse that process. And you've already started that by contributing classes, nutrition classes in the classroom, by helping to educate our children. So we've taken a program that was drawing resources and now is providing resources. And I think that is a nice metamorphosis. So thank you very much.
I just want to read one of these. These are amazing. But since you mentioned how clever they were, I just think it needs a little bit of TV time. Part of this letter says, the pancake, well, all the food was delicious. The bacon was crunchy and mouthwatering. The pancakes were soft and fluffy inside. We think that they were perfectly done, and biting into them felt like a little bit of paradise. Doesn't get much better than that.
How old was the kid who wrote that?
That's dramatic. Phantom Gourmet, right?
Right, yes, they want you to win an award, too.
Right.
And lastly, we should thank Kathy Garvin, because you and Robin Chappelle and the work that you have done to bring the community into this is fantastic, Kathy. So thank you for that, too. But thank you for spending your evening with us. Okay, the next item is a first reading of a security camera policy, and we've got to really thank Steve Imbush, because he scrambled to get this together so that we have something to look at this evening.
So this evening is a first reading. We have two parts to the process. We have a policy, which is, if I could draw an analogy, a balcony view of the security camera policy. So we have a draft for your review this evening. We don't expect any action this evening. Secondly, we have a recommended protocol, and we appreciate Principal Imbush, Principal Esmond, Principal Grinovic from each level of high school, middle school, and elementary. We also had parents represented from each level, teachers, students from the high school, and they came together and created a protocol from various different school districts. They chose what would apply best to Walpole, and those protocols are before you. Those will be adjusted in minor ways to apply to the middle school and the high school, but that's a first draft. So I would recommend the school committee convene the policy subcommittee to view these in more detail, to provide other recommendations for modifications, and then come back to the school committee in about a month or a couple of weeks, whenever our next meeting is, for official second review and a vote up or down. Does that sound like a plan?
Yeah.
I have a just quick question.
Sure.
I think we've discussed this before, and I wasn't here at the last meeting when we had an overview of the process. But I think we've discussed the possibility of like a public hearing. Is that in the works? Or one
I
of
think
those
our next
stages?
school committee meeting would be
Okay.
it.
Okay.
I think that, this is a start, and it will get recorded in our minutes and sent out to everybody, that we have a draft that will be read at our next meeting. And the
Okay.
next meeting will certainly entertain any questions or input
Great.
from people that would attend. So that's a good question, but
That
that's the
might
process.
have already been brought up at the last
Yep.
meeting, but
No, it's a good
I
question.
was out sick.
Don't worry. Anything else? I know people are just getting a chance to look at it for the first time, so, if there are questions, get them to people who are on the policy subcommittee, and we'll make sure that committee meets soon. Anything else?
That's a
Mike?
question. Yeah, I'm just wondering, that it got enough attention. Is it worth, in terms of if we're going to have a public hearing on it, let's say at our next meeting, to, I don't know, the principal's notes, EE notes or whatever, is it worth just bullet pointing it as the fact that people are more likely to read that perhaps than our own minutes here? I don't know, just
We could do that.
Yeah.
a way to publicize it a little bit.
We could do that, sure.
You hate to
And the
have- you hate
reporter
to
from the
have- you
Walpole
hate to get
Times is
feedback-
here.
You hate to get
So-
feedback that,
Right.
that
No,
geez, we
you're
didn't
right.
know about it, what
Yep.
happened? How did you get that far down the road in the public?
Yeah. Just for your information, we also have what the Board of Selectmen has already approved. So that gives us a sense of what they have built in, and there should be some consistency. So we need to put those together also.
Right.
But yeah, that's a good idea, Mike. And Brittany, your name is Brittany, right? As soon as we schedule the next meeting, we'll let you know the date. But as of this minute, I can't tell you what that is. Okay?
So the policy subcommittee will also invite law enforcement officials in to review that, and we'll also have school council review.
Mhm.
Okay?
I just have one other quick question,
Sure.
just for background information too, and this might have already been brought up at the last meeting. At town meeting, I mentioned to Dr. Kenny, it was just kind of a quick question. I wasn't sure how much room into regulating surveillance cameras the school committee had, if that was like a public safety issue, if that's something. I guess what I'm trying to ask is what extent can the school committee really regulate the use of the surveillance cameras?
Well, school committee sets policy,
Yeah.
and policy trumps law. So you have to start with the base of law.
Yeah.
And what is the reasonable expectation for privacy on a state and federal level? So you can't surpass those boundaries. However, school committee policy is generally more detailed, and then the protocols and procedures are even have more depth than a policy.
Okay. All right. It was just a quick question, just kind of see like where in our scope of duties, because we consider like education policy, we do budget, appoint, supervise the superintendent. So I was just wondering where that kind of fit in. So.
Well, your responsibility is budget, hiring the superintendent, setting policy. So
yeah. Okay. It's right in there. Okay.
It's right in your wheelhouse.
Right in my wheelhouse.
Exactly, and as the superintendent said, we'll use the consultation of our lawyer as well as law enforcement. So it is, in tandem, but it's well within our role.
Sure.
Great.
Yeah.
Thank you.
It is your role, yes.
Anything else? Okay. Again, Steve, thank you for the work. I know that it took getting all the people together, and it's a great start. Okay, the next item is old business, professional development update.
Yes, I've invited Dr. Kenny to join us this evening to summarize our professional development plan, the requirements that we face from primarily state regulations, but also the other things we do and the other programs we put on for our faculty and even and the support staff. And when I saw the summary, I felt it would be good to share with the school committee to give you an idea of the breadth of our program. So, Dr. Kenny, if you could join us, please.
What you have is really just a snapshot. The first page is a copy of the spreadsheet that I've been keeping as noted by the Professional Development Committee. We have a Professional Development Committee that is representative of every school and very many job responsibilities within the district. There are 15 people on the committee. We meet monthly and sometimes more frequently if necessary. One of our responsibilities, particularly since the strategic plan and looking at many of the mandates, as Dr. Lynch indicated, was to begin to outline all of the professional development that will be required of many district staff, and in particular Walpole Public School staff. So this is alphabetized, and what we tried to do was to identify what the topic was or what the initiative was or is, when it may be anticipated to be completed, and the approximate number of professional development hours that we would be needing to expend. Aspen Curriculum and Learning is our web-based curriculum storage and development system that is integrated with our Aspen X2 system. Many other districts use something like Atlas Rubicon, or I can't remember some of the other names, but they're similar. Ours, we believe, will serve us very well because it is integrated with our student information management system as well as our employee or staff personnel management system, which will then enable us to utilize the Aspen Professional Development module to be able to record all of the professional development that our staff members participate in during the years, to enable them to have certificates issued for relicensure or for advanced purposes, such as could be possibly lane change. We are investigating and had a call this morning, what was called a discovery call, on Baseline Edge, which is a software web-based program that will enable staff, all staff utilizing the educator evaluation module, to be able to record artifacts to be able to record their goals, progress toward their goals, development of professional development and artifacts with respect to lesson plans, observations, student work, and progress that each educator is making towards his or her goal. Obviously, every year we are required to update our training on bullying prevention and intervention, and that is for every single staff member, including those who are employees of the school bus company, Conley Bus, and other providers of transportation for our students. We also are required to provide training in CPI. It's preventive. Oh my goodness! It's crisis prevention intervention, CPI, and all staff who have had training are required to have refresher training, and we require certain designated staff members who are members of each school's response team to have a full 2-day training if they haven't had that before. So those are just an example. We have many mandates that you can see: curriculum alignment through the Common Core state standards, district-determined measures, the educator evaluation training that we will be conducting on an ongoing basis with all of our staff. We do train our staff, and actually had a training this afternoon by Jim DiTilio at Byrd Middle School on how to access the web-based tools that are sitting right within the Department of Elementary and Secondary Education, such as ELAR. It's the Education, Licensure, and Recruitment module. And that enables staff members to do a lot of their relicensure work online with the Department of Elementary and Secondary Education, establish their goals directly with DEAS, and to be able to record all of their professional development so that when licensure or relicensure time happens, all they really need to do is to select a couple of buttons, click, certainly pay the fee, and then submit. So we've had many of our staff trained on using ELAR, and just the feedback today, 2 people just from the training that went from 2:30 to 4 o'clock today, I had 2 people respond immediately and say, that was wonderful, thank you so much. So, and it's our people training each other. We will be moving to Google Apps for Education, and that is going to require a great deal of ongoing training. And Ann Arpin is in the process of actually piloting that herself and has already migrated all of her documents, email through Google Apps. Walpole will still maintain, and I know Westwood does this as well, our conventions for email. It will be at walpole.k12.ma.us for all staff. But there are multiple other opportunities for us using Google Apps, and it will require a lot of training. I will be working with the grades 3, 4, and 5 teachers this summer to develop the standards-based report cards. And obviously we'll be doing the K through 8 math implementation specific to the programs. We'll be continuing grades 9 through 12. And if you haven't seen it, there's a wonderful article written by Mary Hinton, who presented earlier this evening about the transition in math instruction at Walpole High School. It is very well written, it is easily understood, and it perfectly captures exactly what we're doing. So I would advise people in the audience in particular to look at that. We will be continuing with our measures of academic progress, and that still requires ongoing training as new and implementation of new modules and improvements are made. We do have many of our teachers who will be participating in sheltered English instruction coursework for the ELL population. All of our teachers will be required to participate in courses to gain an endorsement through the Department of Elementary and Secondary Education, and to continue with training in that so that they demonstrate as they relicense at least a minimum of 15 professional development points. as well as additional professional development points in working with students who have disabilities. Our curriculum design process is now using the Understanding by Design method, which was developed by Wiggins and McTighe, two very famous curriculum developers. 4 of us have just completed an online course that was extensive and extraordinarily challenging. I really have a very good appreciation for online curriculum work. We also had 2 of our administrators take 6-week courses offered by Teachers 21 for Understanding by Design. Our goal is to then spread that training out among other teachers using the Train the Trainer model. The nurses have an entirely new software initiative. We're looking at a process called SubFinder, another web-based application to be able to streamline our substitute process. And we're going to be doing a website upgrade for the Walpole Public Schools website, and then nested under that will be all of the schools. And we're also piloting several preschool assessments, notably an online assessment. So you'll see on the bottom of this sheet, we've looked at the time that we have allocated within the contract, and there's limited time. So the Professional Development Committee is meeting on Monday, and we're going to see if we can develop an outline for training over the course of this summer and the next 10 months of the next school year to be able to address all of the needs that are outlined just in this first document. We've looked at potential training models. We've looked at ed camp training models by students. Other districts do that, where students who are in technology classes provide direct assistance to teachers. And it has worked very, very well. And students can do that by applying for, securing permission, and having that part of their coursework. We're also looking at many after-school workshops, and even considering some during the vacation workshops, because many teachers find that that is among the best time that they have available to work on their own training. And then, as many of you are familiar with Khan Academy, but we're looking at developing Khan Academy-like tutorials. Lynn Rowan, our software application specialist, has developed many of those tutorials for our Aspen X2 system, and we're looking to determine how we can do that with our staff and put things out there so that they can have an immediate refresher. Also in your packet are some of the spreadsheets that I already have people signed up for. We have multiple workshops in literacy and in math, and those are just a sampling of what we're going to be doing just this summer. We, in addition to that, have 10 people going to Landmark, which is a school in Beverly. They offer outreach professional development during the summer. And we have people doing that in Beverly and on Cape Cod. We have 6 curriculum development projects that have been approved so far, and I know within the next 2 weeks, school dismisses 2 weeks from today, I will probably have double to triple that, because I've had many questions and I've been sending the forms out electronically. I have scheduled 3 dates to meet with the art teachers so that we will be redeveloping the art curriculum. And we have multiple DESE content institutes that teachers have signed up for, are in the process of. We have teachers taking math courses through Teachers 21 and Simmons. All of the administrators have registered for the Research for Better Teaching course called Analyzing Student Data for Achievement and Teacher Effectiveness. And those are just a few samples of the courses that we have already signed people up for, and then the proposals for what we have yet to do. Be happy to entertain questions. Yes, Mike.
Jean, specific to the K-8 math implementation, so the publisher or whoever is providing the curriculum,
Yes.
is it part of what we're acquiring professional development?
Yes.
As part of that package?
They provide the professional development for us as part of the package. As a matter of fact, we had a 3.5-hour training this past Friday, June 7th, which was our early release day. We sent all of the teachers to the 2 later dismissal elementary schools. So Old Post Road and Boyden went to Boyden, and Elm and Fisher went to Fisher School. They sent a team of 6 trainers, and we divided the teachers into K and 1, 2 and 3, 4 and 5 at each of those buildings. So they had 3.5 hours of introductory training. Then we will, they also have a great deal of online training. They have videos and tutorials that teachers can access over the summer. We anticipate receiving all of their materials before dismissal, so they'll be able to take their teacher editions home with them, and they can now access them online, which was part of the training on Friday. But when we come back into school, usually 4 to 6 weeks into the school year, the teachers then begin to develop questions that are deeper and more specific to the program. So we'll then do another training. We've worked with Pearson before, and they are very, very responsive to our requests for professional development. And they are also very flexible about how they schedule it for us. We've done full-day trainings, 3.5-hour trainings, 2-hour trainings, and they will do that based on our request, all incorporated into the package that we've paid for the resources. And we'll be doing the same thing with the middle school, grades 6 through 8. That will be through Houghton Mifflin Harcourt.
Okay, great, thank you. I had a follow-up question, if I could. Jean, regarding the time allocation here, could you just help me understand? We've got professional development days. The delivery of all of this professional development, can you explain, when does it have to occur? During professional development days, or how does that all work?
The time allocation is what we have within our contract. We have 3 full days because we have 183 days in our teacher contract, and students attend school for 180. So we will look at how we schedule. We may schedule some of the training for full day on our November 5th training. We have a full day, 2 full days actually, before students enter school on the 28th and 29th of August. We'll probably break up those 2 full days into either 2-hour sessions or half-day sessions, depending upon what we need to enable the teachers to do. Our first priority, and that was unanimous among the Professional Development Committee and all of the leadership, is the educator evaluation model. So we'll be spending the greater amount of our time at the very beginning of the school year on that. Then we have the early release sessions, of which during this next school year we have 8. And one of them is the Wednesday of Thanksgiving, so that is not a professional development day. 2 of the days for kindergarten through grade 8 are parent-teacher conferences. So in effect, we have 5 early release days that we can use for professional development. And we'll begin to schedule the most important training through those early release days. Then we also have, which is fortunate that we have built into our contract, we have curriculum meetings, which in addition to faculty meetings, which many of the principals and I use for professional development, in addition to faculty meetings, we have curriculum meetings. We have 8 1-hour and 15-minute meetings at the elementary level, and we have 10 1-hour meetings at both the middle school and high school. And sometimes what we've done to make the training or time more efficient is we've combined curriculum meetings, giving staff advance notice. We might say we'd like to combine the October and November curriculum meetings to make it a 2.5-hour session so that you can plan for daycare, other personal arrangements, and we'll be able to do training that way. Having utilized all of those days within the contractual time, we'll then begin to schedule workshops some of which will be voluntary, and some of which we will say we will pay the teachers the hourly stipend rate according to the contract to attend. And that's really some of the work that we'll be doing this Monday with the Professional Development Committee.
Great, thank you.
Just to piggyback on that, I've been to a couple of meetings that have involved people across the state, and I think it's pretty much unanimous that next school year, there's just the goals for all the things that have to get accomplished are too many, and it's going to be important for you to do a good job more than to get through the checklist and say we did it. But I think we're going to have to trust that you as administrators will prioritize doing things well, even if it possibly means that you can't meet all of these requirements. The example that comes up over and over again is the English language learner, where ideally every teacher is going to get trained for 45 hours. Well, 45 hours is, 6 days out of the classroom?
That actually will be over a course of multiple months, because the way that course is structured, we will assist with scheduling it, because if we will have hopefully 30 plus teachers participating in it, which means we can host it in district. But one of the caveats that they've indicated is that we not schedule something once every week, that we allow multiple weeks in between sessions, because the goal of the course is for the teachers to apply what they're learning and then take some data and then bring back to the class. So that may be a 6-month course, and we may then run it from September through to March, and then start March or April and extend it through the summer. We have 3 years to achieve all of the target teachers that we need to do.
I just think that we as a committee, need to be aware that there's an awful lot being expected of the administration at this point, from our own expectations, but largely from some of the changes that are coming with Common Core, with the educator evaluation, with changing to the park assessments. So, I think it's a priority to do it right, as opposed to,
Absolutely.
Just think of it as getting through a checklist.
And that's why it's wonderful to have the Professional Development Committee, which, as I indicated, is a representative group of every school and multiple responsibilities. They will be the people who will prioritize what it is that we want to do, because our goal, as you said, is to ensure that it's quality professional development, that we're not just driving by.
Yep.
Just to get back to the new math program, how many hours of initial training to get to implement the new program did we get when we purchased the new program, and did we get a certain amount of hours after?
They don't really limit it.
They don't.
They don't. We can tell them, for example, with the implementation of the Scott Forsman Reading Street, we had multiple trainings, and we had multiple similar sessions, so that if people couldn't make one session, they were able to come to another session. They're really invested in our implementation of the program, and they want us to do it well, because they know if they do, we'll be a repeat customer. So they do not limit us. And as a matter of fact, I spoke with Mia Flores, who is our sales representative, and she's going to put together a package for me for professional development for writing. So they're very, very flexible, and I think the cost of the programs support the amount of professional development that's needed.
Okay. Thank you.
Your other questions? Thank you, Jean. That's a thorough overview, yep. Okay, the next item is to review our school committee goals. And my thought was to not go through them all this evening, because we need to schedule 2 workshops for this summer. But to remind people to take a good look at what we set out as our goals a year ago. And if there are any questions or comments that people want to make this evening, fine, but it's more to just bring it back up on our radar screen, that it's something that we're going to be doing some self-evaluation and then moving on to the next steps. But for the listening audience, just like our strategic plan, we set goals as a school committee in the areas of student achievement, policy development, communication, and financial resources. And those are all available online. But for the committee, are there any questions or comments that people have right now? I think that, we'll find we did well in some areas, and there are some that definitely need to be continued on until next year, which is fairly typical. But I think it's just important to make sure that we review them at this point. Okay. Then the next item is the superintendent's report.
Just a quick report. This morning, I spent a couple hours testifying before the Joint Education Committee of Senators and Representatives. I appreciate the support from our legislators. Patrick Shields provided some information for me, which I appreciate, and Gene Hogan was there at the hearing this morning. And the main thrust of the hearing was that all special ed services are needed, but we need to strike a better balance between the expenses at the local level and the burden on the real estate tax and the property tax, as opposed to the spread of state wealth and also the federal government's responsibility. And there were many people testifying. We each had a 3-minute block where we had to provide talking points and any research that we might have been able to share. I think they listened intently. I think there may be some adjustments to the circuit breaker to incentivize in-district programs or collaborative programs, and that was the thrust of my presentation this morning. I feel that our children will be well served in district, and that if we could provide some incentives for these programs as opposed to reimbursing on the back end of many of the private schools, that it could help us to better regionalize our services and create better programs for students. So it was a good morning, and I thought that there were many people who made some very good points this morning. So that's the extent of my report this evening. I think you've heard from me in many other agenda items this evening, so I'm all set.
I was also just going to add, it also helps when you're supporting the chairwoman's bill and you're trying to make the case that the merits of the bill that the chairperson had filed. So I think Dr. Lynch was well received, and we'll continue to monitor the legislation as it moves through the legislative process.
That's great. Because you're right, Patrick, those small things do make a big difference.
Yeah, they do.
That's not, I shouldn't refer to that as, but what somebody might think was a small thing is important.
Yeah.
And to connect the dots for our
Making
own
the
legislators to understand that it really matters to us is a good thing. Mike?
Lincoln, specific to the testimonies that were made today, relative to mandates, is there any takeaways, or did you have to submit a brief report as to what your position was, something that could be shared with the school committee? It's just I'm thinking from educationally, just
Sure,
for us.
I'll be happy to do that.
Be great.
And it was specific to the circuit breaker this morning, relative to reimbursing beyond 3 times foundation or 3 times 10,000 versus 4 times for in-district programs versus out-of-district programs. There is another hearing on June 27th. Unfortunately, we have our leadership goal-setting day that day, so I can't testify, but to the extent that one of the superintendents actually, at his own expense, hired a school bus for the day, and we're trying to get as many superintendents to flock, for lack of a better term, to this hearing to make a point about all the mandates and all the requirements that are being put on the local education authorities. So I think that will serve more of the bigger picture, as you might have spoken about the mandates and the cost of those mandates, and just to share with our legislators that if they pass laws, they also have to follow it through to regulations. so that although a law may be a paragraph long, if the regulations are 3 inches thick and they require X amount of hours of training for every one of our employees, then they need to understand that when they pass this legislation. And secondly, that before any new programs are mandated, they should be costed out. And we should understand the true cost of education.
Yeah, so, I mean, anything that you have there that could be shared, whether it was yours or others that spoke, that, you know, just some light reading, just to kind of, you know, get a little more current, I guess.
Yeah, happy to.
Anything else in the superintendent's report? Great. Next, we have subcommittee reports. Patrick, do you want to just let us know where we are in the legislative process right now?
Yeah, actually, I'd be happy to. I prepared something brief about the state budget process. The last meeting that we had was May 23rd. I wasn't here because the Senate was just finalizing their budget. They adopted a $33.989 billion budget for FY14. This increased Chapter 70 by $130 million to $4.32 billion. It also increases unrestricted general government aid, increased McKinney-Vento transportation, fully funded the what's expected to be the state's estimated share of this special education circuit breaker, and now they're in the process of a conference committee. Just a little bit of background information. When the House passes one version of legislation and then the Senate passes something else with differences, what will happen is they can either adopt each other's version, or what they can meet in what's called a conference committee, and they'll each appoint 3 members of each branch to meet, hash out the differences. Everything that's similar will continue to the final bill, but they'll often compromise on issues like, I'm just looking at, there was some disagreement about Chapter 70 and local aid numbers. So what they'll do there is they'll finalize, there'll be a lot of negotiation, and then they'll finalize the numbers, and then towards the end, which is expected to be towards the end of this month, they'll present a final version of the bill, which will then both chambers need to adopt again. Will be sent to the governor. He'll have 10 days to review it. And in Massachusetts, the governor has line item veto, so we can go through each line item, veto it if he wants to, or reduce the line item, or accept a line item. And if he vetoes it, then it goes back. That particular line item goes back to the legislature. They can vote to override it, and then the fiscal year begins July 1st. So we just have a few short weeks. Hopefully, at our next meeting, I'll have a little bit more final information. But I just wanted to also just share the Walpole specific numbers that were passed in the Senate. For Chapter 70, the FY13 budgeted numbers was $7,325,008. The Senate passed $7,446,256. So that's an increase of $121,248. That's a little bit higher than what the House passed. They passed, looks like a difference of about $25,000. But the Senate passed a lower version for the unrestricted aid. So we'll see where it goes. That, in comparison to where we were last year, we level funded, or the Senate level funded with what was passed last year. So we're not expected to see any decrease, but it's just a little lower from what the House passed. And the House passed $2,206,646, and the Senate passed $2,155,690. And I'm happy to entertain any questions if there are any. All right.
Can you get us some money? No.
What's that?
Just kidding.
More money.
Yeah. No, thank you. And it's a timely report because hopefully.
A lot happens in these few weeks. So these few months, as we know, our budget process is inclusive, and it begins in January, and same with the state starts in January, and all these months are just consumed by the budget process. So.
Yeah. And we have stayed in touch with our local reps, and, I think that we benefit from doing that. I know that they're continuing to work on prison mitigation money, which is another piece that, has potential very important value to us. So,
right.
Those are all the pieces that we might know a little bit more about in the next month or so. Okay, we know that the policy subcommittee needs to meet in the next week or so, so we'll set a date for that. Are there any other subcommittee reports? Okay. Are there any citizens here who want to comment this evening? All right, then that gets us to warrants, donations, and minutes. Who has the warrants tonight?
I do.
Great, thanks, Rick.
Motion to approve the expense warrants as listed in your packet.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Breen, a second by Dr. Cameron. All those in favor, opposed, abstained, 600.
And a motion to approve the payroll warrants as listed in your packet.
Second.
And we have a motion by Mr. Breen, a second by Dr. Cameron. All those in favor, opposed, abstained, 600. Great. Okay, and we have some gifts to be accepted this evening, Patrick?
Sure. I make a motion to approve the following donations with our thanks. For the Johnson Middle School from Planet Green for recycling in the amount of $106.20. To the Walpole High School from Dennis and Barbara M. Sullivan for the Media Center in the amount of $25. For the Johnson Middle School from the Johnson Middle School PAC for auditorium fans installation in the amount of $1,050. To the Boyden Elementary School from the Boyden School PAC for Apple applications with commissions from School Store in the amount of $300. To the Old Post Road Elementary School from Artsonia for commission, the amount of $174.73.
Second. Okay, we have a motion by Mr. Shields, a second by Mrs. Curtis. All those in favor, opposed, abstained, 600. And thank you for the donations. And lastly, we have minutes from the regular session of May 23rd. Just need a motion, somebody?
Motion to accept the minutes from May 23rd meeting.
Second.
We have a motion from Dr. Cameron, a second by Mr. Ryan. All those in favor, opposed, abstained, 402. And for the executive session from that same evening,
Motion to approve the minutes from the executive session from the May 23rd meeting.
Second.
again, we have a motion by Dr. Cameron, a second by Mr. Ryan. All those in favor, opposed, abstained, 402. Great. We do have a need to go into executive session this evening for the purposes of both union and non-union collective bargaining, and we will not be coming out to public session.
Before we adjourn?
Sure.
I'm assuming I missed the reorganization vote.
Yes.
Can we move to reconsider so I can add my vote to that? Can we do that?
I think we could gladly do that.
right,
What are
motion
the,
to-
you
what's
make
that?
a motion to,
Yeah, I'm going to move to reconsider the vote for vice chairman and chairman. So we'll do two motions, and then we'll have to revote it back in.
I'm counting on you to know the
All right.
procedure, Patrick. So long as,
Motion to reconsider the vote for chairman.
Second.
And then you would need to rephrase the question, and then we'd have to vote for it. Or no, we'd have to vote for the reconsideration,
okay,
and then you would rephrase the question to nominate you, and then we
Okay.
vote again.
okay.
Does that make sense?
So we have a motion and a second to reconsider. All those in favor? Opposed, abstained, 600.
Then we would vote you back in.
Okay, so,
So I have to lead this.
yes.
Okay, go right ahead.
Okay.
This is a lot
As
more
is
complicated.
tradition, the superintendent of schools requests motions from the floor, nominations for the position of chairman of the school committee for the 2013, 2014 school year. Do I have a nomination?
Yeah, I'd like to nominate Nancy Gallivan as chairperson.
Second.
We have a motion from Mr. Ryan, a second from Mr. Breen, to nominate Nancy Gallivan as the school committee chairman for the 2013, 2014 school year. All those in favor? All those opposed? 6-0 unanimous vote. And we turn the meeting over to the new chairperson.
Thank you. I'd like to take nominations now for the vice chair position. Mr. Ryan.
I'd like to nominate Susan Curtis as the vice chairperson.
Second.
We have a motion by Mr. Ryan, a second by Mr. Breen. Are there any other considerations? All those in favor? Opposed? Abstained? 600.
Congratulations.
Thank you. And thank you for wanting to participate. I understand the spirit of that. That's great. Okay, so now we need a motion to go into executive session for the purposes of union and non-union collective bargaining agreements.
Strategy, yes.
Okay, motion to go into executive session for the purposes of union and non-union collective bargaining issues.
Second.
And we will not be returning to public session this evening. Okay, so we have a motion by Mr. Breen, a second by Dr. Cameron. I need to poll the committee.
Yes.
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 Yes?
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you for your attention this evening, and have a good night.